Welcome to another episode of Toronto Talk Sports and More, TTS Special Edition, The Trade That Shook the Six. It's your boy Milo here with you folks, ready to talk some NBA basketball. Now, I want to let our listeners know that due to unforeseen but major developments in the NBA today, this is a special release of our podcast titled TTS Special Edition episode, The Trade That Shook the Six. So we are going to dedicate this entire podcast to discussing the major trade that went down earlier today between our Toronto Raptors and the San Antonio Spurs. But don't worry, we'll be releasing a full edition of our podcast, episode number 16, this Friday, July the 20th. So again, on Friday, you'll be able to hear episode number 16, where we'll talk some soccer, recap the FIFA World Cup. We'll talk some NFL football, and of course, our And More segment will also be on that podcast. So I'm happy to be joined here by my boy and my co-host, Hez. How you doing, buddy?
What up, what up?
All right. We're also very happy to welcome back from last week, Miss Steffany Dilleto. Steffany, how are you?
I'm good, guys. How are you? Thank you so much for having me back.
For sure. Always a pleasure. But that's not all. We've also got a very special guest with us right here in studio. He's the founder of Zor Basketball Academy, which is a Brampton-based basketball organization that focuses on youth development through various programs. He also played in the NCAA at Cornell University and captained the men's basketball team at the University of Toronto, Mr. Manny Sahota. Manny, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on, guys. Appreciate that.
For sure, man. Awesome. Welcome to TTS. We're happy to have you on, buddy. So let's dive right into it. An absolute blockbuster trade went down today, and it involved Ben McLemore. No, not that one. Sorry. It involved our very own Toronto Raptors. Yes, the Raps are actually the talk south of the border as well. So here's the deal, guys. The Raptors send veteran and all-star guard DeMar DeRozan along with Jakob Poeltl and their 2019 first-round pick, protected from selections 1 to 20, to the San Antonio Spurs for superstar Kawhi Leonard and sharpshooter Danny Green. There's obviously been a ton of reaction to this trade, both north and south of the border. Usually, Steph, it's ladies first, but Manny, since you are our special guest, I'll start with you, sir. What are your thoughts on this deal?
Well, the first thing that comes to mind when looking at this deal, I feel like it's a big risk that we're taking, obviously,
Sure.
as an organization. Letting go of a player that kind of shifted the momentum in the city and really sparked the fan base to kind of get back involved with the game of basketball. And eventually becoming the face of the franchise and someone who really wants to stay and grow and build with Toronto. It's I find it risky letting him go and bringing on someone that, we hear rumors about him timid about coming to Toronto and potentially even sitting out a year to go to LA or some other team that he might feel that would have a more viable chance at winning a championship. So first thing that comes to mind is big risk, but at the same time, in order for any change to happen or major improvement to occur, you got to take those type of risks. So
no risk, no reward.
Yeah,
Exactly.
absolutely. I mean, obviously, it's a huge shock to the NBA, and especially people in Toronto. They love DeMar DeRozan and what he brought, not only on the court but off the court. But this is a guy that was Mr. Toronto, right? He said when Chris Bosh left that he's got us. And, it's an unfortunate situation, but I think to get better, this is what we needed to do. Steph, what are your thoughts?
I'm obviously upset about it, but I see the basketball aspect of it. Obviously, there's the emotions of the city of Toronto. Everybody's like, man, DeMar DeRozan's gone. I wish it was Lowry. There's more of a tie to DeRozan. But I think Masai Ujiri and Nick Nurse have more of a plan. I think this doesn't come free of whim. I don't think they just woke up this morning and was like, you know what? I think we're going to grab Kawhi Leonard and go with it. I think they're thinking future goals. I'm thinking they're thinking past this first year. If Kawhi Leonard doesn't stay here and he does opt out after because he becomes a free agent after the first year, if he opts out of that and he leaves, they have to get something for him. So that's also a future plan. If you want to blow up this team, they're doing it quietly. Right. They're letting DeMar DeRozan go to a team. San Antonio wins. They still get an all-star, right? Kawhi Leonard has been unhealthy on and off all season, so they're getting a healthy DeMar DeRozan. Yeah, he might be a little bit upset at first, but he's going to fit right in. He gets to get coached by Pop.
Yep.
So it's a great situation for him out there. And Kawhi Leonard, yeah, he's upset. He didn't really want to come here, but you have to see how it plays out. If he does sign the 4 years after this 1 year, then you look at maybe a trade option. Maybe they take not a Kawhi Leonard standard, but two other guys to build around if they don't want to build around Kawhi Leonard. So I think that they did all this looking into the future, not just this year. But if you do look at it in this sense, he's an upgrade from DeMar DeRozan.
Well, I know San Antonio didn't want to send him to L.A.
Yeah.
But maybe the Raptors won't have a problem sending him to L.A., right? Maybe
Exactly.
throughout the
It's a possibility.
midway through the year.
Deadline.
Yeah.
You know, how about if they want to offer Kyle Kuzma and some other pieces to help the Raptors' young players? What do you say, man?
Wow, the trade that shook the six.
That's it, buddy.
All before breakfast.
Huge. So what I would say, I mean, right off the bat, the Raptors are automatically a better team today than they were yesterday.
Right.
Providing, and once again, and back to Manny here talking about this being a risk. Of course, it's a risk.
Yeah.
More so because with Kawhi Leonard, you really don't know what you're getting. First of all, from a mental standpoint, I mean, you know, obviously rumors are circulating, and I guess his camp let out a statement he doesn't necessarily want to be here, which makes sense. He wants to go to LA, and I'm sure, as you said, eventually he'll get there.
Right.
But right off the bat, I just think they're a better team. You know, just DeMar DeRozan, I mean, do the math, or just, you know, look at it on the surface. You're getting, arguably, once Kawhi plays properly and he's healthy,
Right.
which is another risk. That's, you know, he's had, obviously, health issues. You're getting a top 5 player in the league.
Yep. I agree.
Arguably the best two-way player in the league in Kawhi Leonard. So from an immediate standpoint, right away, they're a better team. Long term, and I hear what you're saying, Steffany, I think of it, I mean, always try to look at things from a positive standpoint in terms of, you know, what do the Raptors benefit? I think at the end of the day, it just wasn't working. DeMar DeRozan, we've spoken about this on the show before, Milo. He wasn't going to lead the Raptors to a promised land. He just is not that guy.
Right.
Is he a top 3 Raptor in all time in terms of, you know, from a historical standpoint, franchise? Absolutely. But that whole duo, DeMar and Kyle Lowry together on the court, just wasn't working. They just weren't going to take you. Even with LeBron out of the Eastern Conference, I mean, you just had to kind of shake it up and do something.
Well, you have to figure that even if they kept the same roster, even maybe added a piece here and there, they weren't going to beat Boston. Boston is just, you know,
and if Boston is healthy,
certainly.
You know, with Kyrie and Gordon Hayward, that team looks amazing.
Exactly,
right?
and then LeBron is the least of your worries at that point.
But now,
what I was going to say is, if you know, not if, let's just dispel the notion right away, guys, of you know, Kawhi Leonard potentially re-signing with the Raptors. It's not happening. That's not happening at all. So you potentially are clearing, what is it, around $135 million off the books. And if we look at the free agent class in 2019, there's a whole slew of players that are available. Now, mind you, of course, the Raptors historically have always had a hard time landing big-name free agents. It doesn't necessarily even have to be a huge name. I mean, let's trust the process. There's a quote from Philadelphia.
What a guy like Jimmy Butler, right? He's going to be a free agent.
Possibly.
You know, some of those, you know, maybe tier 2 players.
Right.
If Masai could possibly, you know, and once again, this is looking ahead, you know, use that money, you know, to possibly add, you know, a tier 2 or even a tier 3 guy, team it up with a Kyle Lowry argument. You know, obviously he'll be a little bit older at that time.
Right.
And then obviously you have the young core of the Raptors, you know, getting a little bit more experience. I don't think this is a rebuild by any stretch. I don't think the Raptors are in rebuild mode. I think that we have to kind of be patient and wait and see what's going to happen.
All right, perfect. Well, Manny, let me ask you. I mean, you obviously play basketball in college, professionally or whatnot. I mean, let's say, you know, your coach, your GM, or whoever came up to you and said, you know what, you're going to be playing, you're going to be starting, this and that. 2 days later, he sticks you on the bench. You're not playing. This is obviously a different situation. DeMar has come out today and said that the organization lied to him. Masai told him in Vegas a couple of days ago, you know, that he wasn't going to be traded.
We all saw his IG story.
Yeah,
he was not impressed at all.
How would this make you feel? Like, I mean, you know, obviously he's got strong feelings towards Toronto.
Yeah.
You know, does he have a right to be upset?
I feel like
he was lied to.
Yep. He definitely does have a right to feel upset just because in his mind, he had that expectation that, okay, you know, this is my team. I'm going to come back next year and continue to do what I'm doing, help the team get another playoff berth and hopefully get a little bit further.
Right.
But at the same time, as a professional in the NBA, I feel like he has the maturity and understanding to know that anything could happen at any moment.
business.
Like,
It's
exactly.
business,
So what if like
exactly.
one team drops a player
Yeah.
and then the Raptors see that opportunity as something that they could really use to their benefit. So in that sense, I feel like he's understanding of it, but it is an emotional, you know, goodbye because DeMar was the face of Toronto, and it's a hard pill to swallow, but I guess we got to look at it as an unsuccessful era in terms of just getting that championship. But in terms of bringing the Raptor fan base back up and igniting the city and just like bringing basketball fans all together in Toronto, he did an amazing
I guess Vince
job
Carter
with that.
started it, and it continued with Chris Bosh and now DeMar DeRozan. They had Nat Bhatia, super fan, on CP24 earlier today, and he was saying that DeMar, well, Vince first, but then DeMar should have a statue on Legends
I'm all
Row.
for it. I'll help them
Steph,
build it.
what do you
I
think?
will be out there helping them build
Really?
it. I am all for it.
Okay.
I think both
Not
of
before
them.
Rafael Arujo gets his statue.
Fair enough.
Why don't we just get one about Bargnani?
Exactly. Oh
It'll
Yeah, I'm
Brazilian
working
beast.
on eating
The
some
pasta
pasta.
man.
Oh my goodness, Primo would be all over that in downtown
Chuck
Toronto.
Swirsky on the broadcasting row there.
Yeah, 100%. But I feel like he's right in a sense. Vince Carter obviously left the city on very different terms.
Right.
He left because he wanted to. DeMar, well, not because he wanted to, but it was the option that was given to him, and he was like, you know what, I'm going to make my exit.
Right.
DeMar DeRozan, like you said, was blindsided.
Yep.
Right? And that's not fair to anybody. And I'm sure now you got to look at it like Kyle Lowry just signed 4 years thinking that DeMar DeRozan was going to be there.
Right.
Now he's not. So now how does Kyle Lowry feel?
Well, they did say that Rudy Gay, his best friend, was traded and before, right?
Yes,
from the Raptors,
of course.
And it took Kyle a little bit more time. I think Rudy Gay is the godfather to Kyle's son, so it took him a little bit of time.
A little bit of time, and hopefully he'll come around to it. I'm sure. But Kawhi Leonard is very quiet, and he's a very reserved sort of guy. So we got to see how he fits into the Toronto atmosphere because Toronto's not quiet. We're obnoxious. You go to games and you can barely hear yourself think. But I'm sure he's used to that. But seeing as he's coming into a situation that he didn't really want to be in,
right.
His mindset, yes, basketball wise, he's got to play. He's gonna get up every day and he's gonna play because say his 1 year's up and he doesn't want to resign, he's got to make a show for himself that another team's going to want to take him. So he has to get up and play. People are saying, oh, he's going to sulk and he's not going to play. He's still got to grind. He just came off a season where he was hurt.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So he needs to prove himself. Whether he likes it or not, he's in Toronto. He's got to slum it out for a year in the winter and just deal with it when it comes.
And I was actually telling you, Hez, last night that I feel like something was going to break because there is rumors that Kawhi is going to play in USA basketball. And with Greg Popovich being the head coach, it'd just be a little bit awkward, right?
Yeah.
It's still probably going to be awkward,
Oh, yeah.
but, at the end of the day, he's not on a new team. Popovich is his player and whatnot, so we're definitely going to see what happens there.
Sure.
Any more thoughts on this, Hez?
Well, in terms of DeRozan and his reaction, I think eventually, once the dust settles, he'll be okay. At the end of the day, it's not like you're going to the New Jersey Nets or whatnot.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, you're going to the San Antonio Spurs, classy organization, one of the best coaches in the league, if not the best. The only thing that I don't like is just the whole, let's take our emotions to social media. Yeah. To me, that's just such a millennial thing to do.
I know people started burning jerseys,
let's
throwing
face it, guys,
jerseys out.
One team his whole career, 9 years, 9 seasons, whatever it was. So I understand the emotions. And yeah, maybe they did have that discussion in terms of we're not going to trade you, and then they went back and whatever, business is business. But just the whole, whatever he posted on his IG, whatever, taking it to social media and whatnot, I'm just not a big fan of that. Yep. But I think once the dust settles, he'll be fine. He's in a good situation. Yeah. Once again, they didn't send him to in any kind of a rebuild situation. He's in the West. He's closer to home. He's closer to Los Angeles.
That's right.
Who knows? Maybe he might end up there eventually. It is what it is.
I mean, he's been traveling back and forth there. Apparently, there was a rumor that he traveled between games 2 and 3 in the Cleveland series just to go visit his dad or something like that. So, if he needs to go and travel, that's going to be a little bit easier. But I just also want to ask you guys quickly, there are a couple other pieces to this trade. Jakob Poeltl, he was solid for the Raptors last year during the regular season. One of my personal favorites. I thought he played hard. He came in, rebounded, got some easy buckets. And then Danny Green coming over to the Raptors.
Love Danny Green.
Yeah,
huge fan.
Do you see Danny Green helping us in any way?
Oh, big time. Yeah, for sure. He's just going to space the floor, another shooter, another guy for Lowry to kind of, hop and pick his spots and just like you get us some easy transition points, easy buckets.
He's a good defender as well, right?
So, and he's coming from a great system. You're coming from San Antonio, so he can play basketball. He knows fundamental basketball. So good leader for the
and I
young
think
guys.
A guy like Jakob Poeltl fits perfect into like Greg Popovich's system.
I think so. I think 100%. He grinds it out. He's a really he's obviously he was a little timid this year, but he was aggressive. He tried to be at least. I mean, next to Jonas Valanciunas, he looked quite aggressive because I don't think Jonas Valanciunas does much. So, but I think that he's going into a very good situation. I think that for San Antonio and for DeRozan and Poeltl, once they get over that emotional aspect of it, they're like you said, they're in a good situation. So, I mean, I'm all for it. I'm obviously a little emotionally distressed because I really liked DeMar DeRozan in Toronto. Yes. I bought 5 jerseys last year, Now they're going to be all on clearance, but it's fine. It's okay.
Did you guys see the video today on the score where the guy put the DeRozan jersey down?
In the recycling bin?
Well, he was about to light it on fire.
Yeah, I didn't understand that. I didn't think it was that. It was it's not like he chose to leave.
Well,
this wasn't mean to the city.
No.
To
So
burn
the guy,
his jersey.
No, the guy was going to burn it, but then he was actually joking. So he put signs down that said, DeMar, we love you.
Oh, I didn't see that one. I saw one with just the light.
Yeah. So he actually, was pretending that he was going to light it on fire, but
you can't.
Gave him a shout out, right? So let's do predictions, guys. I know it's a little bit early. The season hasn't started yet. Toronto Raptors, do you think they can make it to the finals this year? Manny, let's start with you.
Finals might be a bit of a stretch, especially it's not a rebuilding year, but it is going to be like new pieces working together, gelling together. So that chemistry factor is really going to be an issue in terms of pushing them through that second round in the playoffs. But I do feel like that they have a good shot. It's hard to say whether or not it's better or worse with DeMar leaving and Kawhi coming in. It's really going to just we'll have a better idea once we actually see Kawhi playing with the guys and seeing how he does. And so right now I feel they'll kind of go just as far. I wouldn't say the finals this year, but in the future years with Masai's plan to pick up free agents in the future and put more pieces around these guys, you never know.
Absolutely. And I'm asking this question based on Kawhi mentally, 100%, physically 100%. He's
Kawhi
all
healthy.
in, all in. He's ready to go. Can they get to the finals?
I think I agree with Manny. I mean, it's gonna take emotional stability from just the guys that are on the Raptors team now, because now they're losing their leader, right? So they have to get over that hump and say, look, we got to accept Kawhi for what it is. There's nothing we can do, and if we want to get far, if we want to make it past the Eastern Conference this year, we got to work together. And at the end of the day, a healthy Kawhi, like I said before, is better than DeMar DeRozan. It's a great situation for them.
Sure.
So I mean, I can see them making. I'm fingers crossed here. I could see them making it to the Eastern Conference. I don't know about a finals berth. I don't know if they have that oomph to get them there. But, I mean, they could come pretty close. But, again, that's going to come down to just everybody emotionally blending, Kawhi, picking up his head and saying, you know what, this is where I am and this is what I got to do. But time will tell, right?
Let's ask. Sorry, go ahead, Manny.
And I feel like once Kawhi is kind of settled into the organization, he's really just going to put his head down and grind.
Sure.
If you look at his background and his he comes from very humble beginnings, and even after getting $1 million salaries, he still drives. I think it was like a 2000 Chevy or something. His
He's
dad,
definitely an enigma. That's
Let's ask the biggest Raptor.
He doesn't
fan
have
in
much
this
of a
room.
social media presence. He's very to himself,
would
very
that be?
humble.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What do you think, Hez? What do you say?
So
Finals or bust?
So if you're a Raptors fan, you want to go like this: cross your fingers
Your
and
toes.
pray that Kyrie Irving gets injured again. That's your hope of getting to the finals. So I still put Boston ahead. I would say, as far as Philadelphia, I mean, I think they're still trusting the process. And I think Ben Simmons is going to have a little bit of a step back this year.
Right.
So I actually put the Raptors ahead of Philadelphia. So if Boston does have injury struggles or whatnot, I think the Raptors will be there, but I still think Boston is ahead. But it'll be interesting. As I said earlier, I think they're a better team. They finished the first in the East last year. Obviously, Boston wasn't healthy, so I think health is going to play a major factor. But I like the team, and I don't think they're done yet. I don't think Masai is done. Let's wait and see what happens.
Kyle Lowry could be on the move, maybe.
Oh, maybe.
Am I starting something
Let's
here on
get
TV?
rid of-
You would be
Get rid
starting
of-
something.
If they can find somebody to take Serge Ibaka's contract, that would be gold. That's something that
It's
I think
true,
Masai
though.
should look to work.
I think
Yeah.
Masai is setting this up for
100%.
2020, right? Because that's when I think Serge's money comes off.
Yeah, he has a
he
couple
gets
more
the
years.
player
Kawhi will
option,
be
and I
done.
think Lowry
You know.
gets the player option as well.
Who
so
knows? Maybe Masai doesn't want Kawhi back.
Maybe.
If he doesn't perform,
That's what
maybe
I'm
it's
saying.
let him
Maybe he
walk.
has this in his he's like, I'm okay if he doesn't come back.
But you have to
I'm
go
good.
into this knowing that, I mean, there's a 99.9% chance that he's not going to re-sign.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
And he wants
It's not
to
a whole
play
Paul
in Los
George
Angeles.
situation.
Yeah.
Right? It's not like Paul
I don't
George.
see that happening. I mean,
No.
Toronto, it's a totally different country.
It's
and
cold.
No disrespect to, the Six.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
absolutely.
It's not the same.
No.
So
Yeah.
he wants,
Of course not.
Los Angeles, Toronto. I mean,
Yeah, I'm going to LA.
I'm going to LA.
Drake
Sorry.
might warm him up a little bit.
Yeah,
You never
Drake
know.
might put it over the edge.
He might. He put something on his Instagram about it as well. So quickly, just before we wrap up, San Antonio Spurs, can they get to the finals?
Maybe in a few years,
Maybe
not
in a
now.
few years.
Yeah,
And
I'm
by
gonna
the way,
have to
I
agree
love
with
the
you there.
Spurs. As you know, Milan, the
Yeah.
Spurs are my second favorite team in the league. I think that DeMar DeRozan, and one of the things that we've talked about before on the show, that in terms of him elevating his game and being a leader, taking his game to the next level, I think working under the leadership of Greg Popovich and being in that system, I think that's going to do wonders for him. So I wish him all the best. And, as for the Spurs, where they position in the West, I mean, it's so hard to tell. The West is so unpredictable.
Yeah.
There were talks earlier, especially if Kawhi wasn't, was going to hold it or wasn't going to play, that perhaps they wouldn't be a playoff team. They're definitely a playoff team right now, even in the West.
Right.
Finals not happening, but they should be an exciting team, and all the best to DeMar.
Yeah, I agree. Finals probably not an option for them this year, but
Yeah.
definitely if DeMar DeRozan settles in and he becomes that leader that he can be, in the leader he was in Toronto with the right tools around him, I think San Antonio has a good shot with him there.
For sure.
I just don't see DeMar as the number one guy. I think he needs even in Toronto, Lowry
Like a
was kind of the
sidekick?
vocal leader, and they kind of
Yeah.
had that duo tandem. I think DeMar just needs to kind of fill his role as a scorer, as a defender, maybe pick up the laziness on defense a little bit,
Yeah.
right?
Slightly.
Yeah, if he had someone like a Russell Westbrook or maybe even like a Chris Paul to work with, that
I think him and Aldridge will be a pretty good combination, but we'll see what happens. Right, they're a bit of an older team as well. So, guys, this was wonderful. Definitely had a great time talking. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of stuff coming up in the next few weeks.
For sure.
So we'll definitely talk about that. Hez, always a pleasure. Steph, you were great once again. And
Thanks
Manny,
so much.
we appreciate you coming in, sir. Why don't you tell everybody where they can reach you on social media and just give a quick plug on your website as well.
Yep. First of all, thank you for having me on Toronto
sure.
Talk Sports. You guys are an amazing organization. Looking forward to seeing you guys do
Appreciate
big
it,
things
brother.
in the
Thank you, man.
future. Of course, definitely. You guys can check me out on Instagram, Manny Sahota 123. Follow our Brampton-based basketball organization. It's called Zor Basketball. We're actually running our summer academy right now. We'll be done August 10th, and then in September we'll start with our new programs going there. But
What's the website?
The website is www.zorbasketball.org.
Okay, so www.zorbasketball.org.
Yes, sir.
Perfect. Thanks a lot, guys. We really appreciate it. Basketball, it's coming soon.
Yes, sir.
Toronto Talk Sports and more. All right, welcome back, folks. Milan Hez back with you, and we're going to continue our conversation on the Kawhi Leonard to Toronto trade for DeMar DeRozan, the cornerstone of the Raptors for the last 9 seasons. So we are very excited here on TTS to be joined by regular TTS contributor Kashif Arshad. And on the line, we have both of them on the line, actually, the Waterboy himself, Mr. Luca Rosano. Gentlemen, how we doing?
Doing great.
Doing great,
Thanks for
man.
having
We didn't realize that the Raptors would be doing this, but
Breaking news.
it's all
man.
good.
That's it. I woke up this morning to a bunch of texts and missed calls. Like,
My
what's going
phone
on?
was going crazy, still is.
Yeah, exactly. Welcome back, guys. So, Kashif, I'll start with you, my friend. Initial reaction and thoughts to the blockbuster deal today?
Well, listen, man, I think as every Torontonian would attest, we're all shocked, but this was in the process for a couple weeks, and it shouldn't become as a shock that the Raptors, proceeded with this trade and actually finished the trade, because you couldn't stay stagnant in the East. And that, I think, was what Masai and Bobby Webster were looking at. And they just made the move. Kawhi Leonard came available, and you jump at it. And I think it's an opportunity that you can't give up. There's not many times in the NBA that you get opportunities like this, and they made the move.
Yeah, for sure. And, it's been a hot topic all day, both here in Toronto as well as south of the border. Luca, I know you're a passionate basketball fan as well, my friend. What do you think about it?
Yeah, I agree. Everybody was shocked when you first heard the news. I didn't think it was actually going to happen, but it did. I mean, after going through the motions and, analyzing the deal, at first I wasn't a huge fan of it before the details were revealed.
Right.
But then after I realized that, we weren't going to part ways with an Anunoby, DeLon Wright, or, some of our Siakam, I was more on board with the deal. And I think it makes the Raptors better as of today. And then if Kawhi Leonard decides to leave in 2019, you still have your full future intact, and you're headed for a rebuild anyway. So I think it makes sense, and a deal needed to happen because DeRozan obviously wasn't getting the job done as the number one guy in Toronto.
So when you say, Zion here, when you say headed for a rebuild, what exactly do you mean by that?
Well, I think that they were pretty much put in a position where in 2019 and on, regardless of what happened this season, they were going to give it one more go, whether it was with Kawhi as it is now or with DeRozan and Lowry. They were going to see how it was going to pan out. And then in 2019, if things weren't, up to par, they were going to just start over and restart it, whether it was trading the Lowry or DeRozan, which obviously they have traded DeRozan. That's what would have happened.
Well, see, they talked about a rebuild. Right?
Right.
And
You talked about not having a rebuild.
After the loss to Cleveland last year, we were all thinking, hey, would they stay in the same position with the same roster that won them 59 games, right? So the thought process is this is your chance in the East to make a move. And without LeBron there, you basically trade DeMar DeRozan, who, yes, was the face of your franchise, but for a better DeMar DeRozan, right? Yes, they play the same position, but Leonard's a better wing player and can shoot threes, and forget that. He's a better defender. And I think that's what you need in the playoffs, right? You need that big body to be able to cover the twos and threes and stop them from, penetrating the paint. So Kawhi Leonard's a top, 5 player in the league.
Oh, definitely. He's a finals MVP,
so
right?
You get that. Sorry?
He's a finals MVP.
And he's a finals MVP, right? So it just made sense. And Luca, you made that point that you didn't give up assets. OG, Pascal, those two guys were, I guess, untouchable.
Off limits,
and to give up DeMar, who knows what would have happened in next year or the year after when his contract expires in 3 years. But you save $7 million on the salary cap as well right now, which doesn't make a difference because they're already at over 130 million, which is top 3 in the league. So it doesn't make a difference salary wise. I don't think they're going to be adding much unless you go for a guy like Kevin Love. But it just makes the whole team better.
Yeah.
And I think that's what Masai was looking at. So hopefully it's a positive sign.
Yeah, no problem. I mean, that's exactly what I was going to say. And I think, you touched on it, Kashif, a couple of years ago when they got eliminated in the Eastern Conference Finals. They talked about, I think Masai used the term culture reset. So not much of a rebuild, but they just needed to reset. For me personally, I don't like the deal. I actually love it. Look, you just fired your head coach, who was coach of the year. You had to know that either Lowry or DeRozan were likely to go. Me personally, I would have rather seen Lowry get traded, but looks like the Spurs were quite keen on getting DeMar.
More trade value for DeMar.
And just getting back to your point, guys, what I love most about this deal, you don't have to give up Siakam or OG and keep pretty much all of your young core intact. I love what Pirtle has done in his short career, but let's face it, he's not a difference maker. Now, what are we getting in return? Well, first of all, you guys mentioned it, we're getting a finals MVP and champion. 2 out of the last 3 years, he's been a top 3 candidate for regular season MVP, and he's arguably the best two-way player in the NBA. When have our Toronto Raptors had someone like this? Never. And I get it. There's a really good chance he walks next season, but how do we even know Masai wants him for more than one season, right?
Are you telling me, Milan, that Andre Bargnani wasn't an MVP candidate?
Maybe in Italy sometime. Yeah, maybe with Primo Pasta.
Oh, boy.
Here's the interesting thing. So you fire Casey, who is a defensive-minded coach, and you bring in Nurse, who is bringing in a new offense, but you replace DeMar now with Leonard.
Quite an
now
upgrade.
Leonard's the defensive guy that Casey would have cherished, right?
Yeah.
Like he would have really, gone crazy in his system. So it's kind of a catch-22 here, but Nick Nurse is not complaining right now, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, not at all.
So would you guys agree that it's our job as fans to sell Kawhi Leonard on the city of Toronto when he's here? Like, I mean, obviously, the fan base wants to see him here long term. So when he's in the building, when he's playing, our fan base has to get loud. They have to support him, outside of the basketball court as well. Do you think that, I've heard somewhere on Twitter today that it's the Raptors fan base job to keep him in Toronto. Do you guys agree with that?
I mean, Luca, you want to take this? I'll chime in after.
I think we might have lost Luca.
Oh, we lost Luca.
Yeah.
Okay,
just the three of us.
I'll
Just
chime into
the three
myself
of
on
us.
this, and then we'll go from there. But no, listen, the fan base of Toronto is one of the best fan bases in basketball and in the entire NBA, right? So we have a right to, as fans and part of the media, to pump up Kawhi, sure. But what's going to keep him here is the product on the court.
Right.
And as long as the Raptors are competitive and they're playing well, and I don't see them going down from their 59-win season. I think, in fact, in the East, they may even, 55 to 60 wins is still possible. They didn't, revamp the whole roster. So I think it's more so on the product on the court, more so than the fans. But, hey, do the fans have a say? Absolutely. I mean, I don't think we're going to get booing Kawhi when he steps on the court.
Right.
Maybe when they play the Spurs, and hopefully that's a Christmas Day game. You guys?
Yeah, that would be great. I think that, the Raptors have been itching to get on Christmas Day, so why not put them up against the Spurs and have it here, right? Make DeRozan return to Toronto on Christmas Day. That would be a nice game.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, that would be great hopefully for ratings as well. But for the fans, the fans would agree to the NBA. They will still, Raptor fans are Raptor fans. It's going to be loud, crazy. Scotiabank Place is going to be popping. So I don't see getting on Leonard's bad side or anything like that, unless he gets, God forbid, injured in his first game, and all of a sudden it's like, hey, oh my God, what just happened?
Right.
So as long as the problem of it, the possibilities are endless.
Yeah. So I think we got Luca back on the line. Luca, you there?
Yeah. Sorry about that, guys. Little technical difficulty.
That's okay. Are you with Rogers or Bell?
I won't reveal that at the moment.
No problem. I was just going to ask you guys. Do you think Masai? I'll ask you, Luca, since you just got back on the line. Do you think Masai is done? Do you think any major trades or something will come up where he tries to add to this roster?
That's a really good question, actually. I think he's going to stay put. I think this was the big splash he was going to make, and we'll see what the Raptors have with what they got now. Having a guy like Kawhi Leonard's obviously huge. Hopefully he doesn't pull off any shenanigans where he holds up or holds out and doesn't play.
Right.
And then you have him in the lineup with a Danny Green. I think all of a sudden, you look at a very, very compelling starting five. You're going to have bench mob there,
yep.
Except for obviously Pirtle. This is a team that I think can contend right now for an NBA Finals appearance.
Are they better than Boston?
That would be a really good series. It depends. If Kawhi Leonard is playing Kawhi Leonard basketball and he's the Kawhi Leonard from a couple seasons ago before when he went down with that injury in that series against Golden State, yes. So it all is dependent on Kawhi Leonard. I think this team will gel nicely defensively, will gel nicely offensively, but he's going to have to be the big question mark that is going to have to, favor the Raptors if they want any shot at making it out of the East.
Yeah. Well, quickly, guys, I'll just finish with this, actually. DeMar DeRozan's legacy. Obviously he wasn't able to get the Raptors over the hump to the finals or to a championship, and that was his goal. Obviously, he came out and said it many times. What do you guys think, Kashif, I'll ask you, what do you guys think, or will his legacy be remembered by?
No, I think his legacy is very strong. I mean, look what he was Toronto, and he still is Toronto. I think he built roots here, and the only thing with DeMar was that he didn't get the team over the hump in the playoffs, right? That's how, unfortunately, in sports these days, that's how you're remembered by, right? What do you do in the playoffs? How many championships do you win, right? And but he's going in a situation now with the Spurs under Greg Popovich. I mean, he has an opportunity now to really become a top 10 player in the league under his tutelage. And, I could be happier for DeMar from that standpoint. But he created a great legacy here in Toronto, and I think fans appreciate that and will always remember for what he did for the city.
For sure. Go ahead, Hez.
Yeah, so how will DeMar be remembered? I think he'll be remembered as, a star player who had the opportunity.
All-star, not superstar.
Yeah, he's a star player. Yeah, all-star player who had the opportunity through free agency to leave like every other star player has done in Toronto, but didn't. I mean, the guy loved Toronto. He loved Toronto. Obviously, he's upset with, leaving and whatnot. But, he improved pretty much every year as a Raptor. He was consistent. He gave it his all. Where the expectations maybe a little bit too high in terms of, people, hailing him as a superstar in terms of being that guy to take him to the next level. He wasn't able to do that. But I think all in all, he'll be remembered as a guy who, gave everything that he had with the tools, whatever he was able to do. And as I said, he improved every year. He loved the city of Toronto and, farewell. He'll be missed and we wish him all the best moving forward.
Here's a pretty cool thought here.
Right.
The current Raptors roster has two players who have gone to the NBA Finals, who have won the NBA championship.
Mm-hmm.
Who is that?
Kawhi Leonard.
Yes.
And Danny Green.
Danny Green.
Danny Green. There you go.
Danny
That's
Green.
right.
The two new guys.
There you go, right? So if you kept the same roster, you go into the playoffs without guys who have been to the finals, and that experience, I think, is huge. And we haven't even talked about Danny Green yet.
No.
I think Danny
Huge
Green, what he
piece.
can bring to the table defensively, is exactly what the doctor ordered for
And
Mr.
he's a
Nurse.
consistent perimeter
No pun
shooter,
intended.
absolutely.
And he's a team player, right? Like, he seems like a guy that wants to win, and that's all he cares about. So, I mean, he can, and he's a great defender as well. on the perimeter. And that's one thing the Raptors were missing is the perimeter defense. I mentioned this earlier in the segment. It's one of their biggest issues is the constant blow-bys by guards. They constantly get blown by, and it just makes Serge and Jonas have to protect the rim even more. But now we got a guy like Kawhi Leonard and even Danny Green that can lock down those positions outside and take their best opposing player and make them, jump shooters pretty much.
And guess what? You don't have to play LeBron in the Eastern Conference.
That's it. Maybe in the finals.
Oh, yeah. Well, let's not get ahead of ourselves.
I know that'd make you happy. As a Lakers fan. Well, gentlemen, any last thoughts or?
Go Raptors, go.
That's it.
That's it, eh? Gentlemen, always a pleasure having you on. Kashif and Luca, thanks for calling in today on a little bit of late notice. I know this news just broke this morning, so we certainly appreciate that. Just quickly let our listeners know, Luca, where they can find you on social media again.
Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, the Waterboy Report, and YouTube. I actually posted a video with my full thoughts on today's move. A lot of people I know were against it, but like we discussed on today's podcast, I was in for it.
Looking forward to watching it, buddy.
That's right. Kashif, thanks again, buddy. I know you're a regular contributor. You're going to be on in the very near future as well, eh?
No, absolutely, man. I love talking sports. I think there's a lot to talk about. And, when the Raptor season starts, that's when the real talk will begin.
That's right.
So,
thanks, guys. That was fun as always. So we've got Manny Sahota back here from Zor Basketball, and he's going to let you all know about a special promotion for you, our TTS listeners. Go ahead, Manny.
Yes, sir. Zor Basketball will be partnering with TTS, Toronto Talk Sports, to give away a pair of Duke tickets that include access to a Duke practice and a chance to hear from Coach K.
Mike Krzyzewski, that is, right?
Mike Krzyzewski,
right.
The world-famous Coach K.
Nice.
A piece of Duke memorabilia, a game ticket to watch Duke University versus the University of Toronto at the Hershey Center, and then finally being entered in a raffle to be a part of player introductions.
Wow. Thanks, man. That's going to be awesome. Can I go or?
Yeah, definitely.
All right, perfect. It's just, it's not just for our listeners.
Contest. We'll see
Okay, we'll see. Perfect. Thanks again, buddy. So look out for that contest, folks, on our social media very soon. Toronto Talk Sports and more.
Thank you very much to all our guests and co-hosts that participated in our very special edition podcast entitled The Trade That Shook Up the Six. Manny Sahota of Zor Basketball, Luca Rosano of the Waterboy Report, Steph Dilleto of Steffi's World in Sports. Very engaging discussions, guys. It was a lot of fun. And of course, special thanks to all of our listeners for tuning in. Stay tuned for more sports talk and much more right here on Toronto Talk Sports and More. For the love of the six, let's connect. Boom!
Thank you for tuning into Toronto Talk Sports and More. Please subscribe to our podcast via Apple iTunes or Google Play Store. And stay tuned for new episodes, prizes, and surprises at TorontoTalkSports.com.